Folks, I made a mistake. And it has to deal with Joe Rogan and RFK Jr. So, first of all, uh, Joe Rogan did not make an endorsement of RFK Jr. He just gave him a nod. He said he liked him. But to be clear here, it wasn't an endorsement, never was. And I want to just pull up this tweet right here. And I do apologize for my mistake. So, let's go ahead and pull this up here. So Joe Rogan went on to tweet, for the record, this isn't an endorsement. This is me saying that I like RFK Jr. as a person, and I really appreciate the way he discusses things with civility and intelligence. I think we could use more of that in this world. I also think Trump raising his fist and saying fight after getting shot is one of the most American effing things of all time. I'm not the guy to get political information from. If you want that, from a comic, go see comedian Dave Smith. He actually knows what he's talking about. So what's going on here? I want to play this.
Promote narrative. That's just what they do. That's politics. They do it on the left. They do it on the right. They gaslight you. They manipulate you. They promote narratives. And the only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You a fan?
Yeah, I am a fan. Yeah, he's the only one that makes sense to me. He's the only one that he doesn't attack people. He attacks actions and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent. I mean, the guy was an environmental attorney and cleaned up the East River. I mean, he's a legitimate guy. You know, before anybody started calling him an anti-vaxxer, which I thought he was too. I thought he was this nut, this like conspiracy theorist nut, until I read his book. I read The Real Anthony Fauci, and I'm like, what is it? How much of this is real? Because if it's all real, this is fucking insane. And we live in a world where we're being manipulated by these health organizations that are being paid by the pharmaceutical drug interests. And these pharmaceutical drug companies are pumping these products out into the population and telling us that we need them, and then making insane amounts of money. And then also the government is in on it. And also they share a patent with Moderna, and also they share profits, and there's $700 million, I mean, however much money was made, whatever the number is that these guys made off of these products. Like, this is, all of it is fucking crazy. There's the revolving door between the CDC and the FDA and then these pharmaceutical drug companies. So the people that make the regulations then go on to have these cushy jobs with the pharmaceutical drug corporations. Like, oh, nothing to see here. It's like, it's open. It's right out in the open.
Right.
And when he talks about all that stuff in his book, you're just like, what the fuck, man? If this wasn't true, he would be sued.
Yeah. But
So it seems to be true.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thing because people don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be attacked. You know, they don't want to be called an anti-vaxxer. That's a big one.
Right.
You know,
it cracks.
So that's what happened. And look, I want to be clear here. Everyone rather surprised or shocked that Joe Rogan made a statement. Now, look, it wasn't too long ago, way back in 2020, when Joe Rogan had Bernie Sanders on his podcast, Tulsi Gabbard on his podcast, Andrew Yang on his podcast, and yes, he even interviewed RFK Jr. Let's be clear here. Joe Rogan just said he liked the guy. It wasn't an endorsement. I think everyone's blowing this out of proportion. And what I'm rather surprised by, and this goes to Trump supporters, why do you care who Joe Rogan would support and not support? I mean, at this point, you know, Trump supporters, you got to get your boy Trump in line because he's been making some oopsies, and just, you know, he could be more organized in regards to going after Kamala Harris's record, especially, you know, if you focus on the economy. That's the number one issue impacting all Americans. But, you know, I'm not expecting much from the Republican campaign or the Democratic campaign. I'm not expecting anything from the two-party system, but I will give my analysis and perspective. But why does it matter? I'm noticing a lot of people who have very thin-skinned were even going after Kyle Rittenhouse because he wanted to write in Rand Paul's name on the ballot. Well, who cares? Who cares what he's going to do? That's his own right to do it. I encourage my audience to vote however which way you want. And I've had liberals and Trump supporters watch this show too. And you know what? Vote however which way you want. If you want to vote for Trump, so be it. If you want to vote for Kamala, go ahead. If you want to vote for RFK Jr., go ahead. Anybody else? Now, we here at Hardlands Media, we're not making an endorsement. We're not giving an endorsement. We're going to tell you, make your own choice. Do whatever you want to do. And I made it very clear what I'm going to do. But at no point should someone be curb stomped or pushed around, be it a high-profile celebrity or just a regular civilian. Because I've seen people on Twitter who have maybe 1 or 2 followers maybe make a statement, oh, I'm going to support this progressive or I'm going to support this independent, especially during the 2020 primary or use that during the 2020 general election cycle, when Vote Blue, no matter who, was on the warpath, the rage warpath against anyone that wasn't going to vote for Biden. Trump supporters, you're acting the same way too. And your boy doesn't help himself out, especially when he posts this on his Truth Social. Donald Trump Jr., Donald Trump, sorry, not Donald Trump Jr., real Donald Trump. It'll be interesting to see how loudly Joe Rogan gets booed the next time he enters the UFC ring. MAGA 2024. He didn't endorse RFK Jr., he just liked it. He likes the guy, okay? Now, I'm not a fan of RFK Jr., but he also said about you, Trump, that he liked you raising your fist in the air and saying fight, fight, fight. Maybe, really observe the situation and hear things out before you just start jumping on somebody. I want to pull up this article from Axios. So former President Trump expressed dismay at Joe Rogan on Friday after he expressed favor for independent presidential candidate RFK Jr., which the podcaster later said was not an endorsement, and it wasn't. Now, we all know that Rogan has a lot of followers on the social media. But who cares? It shouldn't matter. If you're running for the highest office of the land, you should be focused on policy. It wasn't too long ago where somebody was trying to pop Donald Trump, and he almost had this election in the bag. Right now, things are looking shaky and iffy. It looks 50-50. And if you have Trump supporters going after somebody because they say, well, they're not going to support Trump, well, when did Joe Rogan say that you have his complete obedience? Because if we just stop here, and if we look back to the Bernie Sanders interview that he did on Joe Rogan's podcast, what's interesting in the comment section? You have to look for them, but they're there. You have Trump supporters saying, this is the first time ever I've heard Bernie Sanders really speak without being interrupted by corporate media. Now, of course, we all know that Bernie Sanders is a nutless cuck wonder, but you had Trump supporters being impressed by the guy. I remember that. I remember so many people were saying, how dare Bernie Sanders show up on Joe Rogan's podcast, because he's an extreme right-winger, even though Joe Rogan said he's not a right-winger. So what's the big threat here? That should be water off a duck's back for you, Trump. But I'm noticing, again, when you have diehard sycophants, and let's face it, the Republican Party and Democratic Party have successfully hypnotized at least half of this population into being sycophants for Team Red or Team Blue. Both parties are one and the same. There is no difference between the Democratic Party and Republican Party. They're both owned by Wall Street. They're both owned by big banks and corporations. The political system is controlled by the donors. And I keep on saying this until this is drilled into your heads, folks. The donors will supersede the voters. So if you are a Trump supporter, if you're a Kamala Harris supporter, guess what? You're just a good puppet. You don't have a seat at the table. You get the placebo effect of thinking, oh, yeah, my team won. Look, when your favorite baseball team or football team wins or basketball team wins, or when you see anything like that happen, guess what? You're just rooting for the team, but you're not there on the front line, okay? And when it comes down to the realm of politics, in the front line, it's called corruption and abuse of power. And they tricked so many Americans into thinking that, oh, this political party cares about values. Oh, this political party cares about freedom. This political party cares about jobs. This political party cares about social issues. They don't. They only care about the dollars. And it's interesting how corporate media likes to promote this all the time. Here, just a short snippet from CNN, or sorry, BSDNC. They all look alike.
Danielle, I got less than a minute, but I did have to ask. We've seen people like Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, Nick Fuentes openly say that they are not going to be supporting Donald Trump. They've backpedaled, right? And, they've tried to, make excuses for taking those positions. But we've also seen publicly attacks on Truth Social against the campaign leaders for Trump. Is this a sign in any way that you think that there is now an actual kind of break in the armor of the Trump campaign?
No, these are PR moves. And this is why I say that people cannot become complacent. Everything that this campaign does is about PR. And so we have to be very clear that they have orchestrated a 900-page plan. They know exactly what it is that they want to do to America. And we, the people, cannot let it happen.
Oh, my God. So So first of all, again, Rogan isn't endorsing RFK Jr. He's made that very clear. And also, I do want to pull this up here too. This is from Tim Pool. That video that I played. It's a retweet. Damn, I trolled too close to the sun. Hey, BSDNC, you gotta understand. Sometimes you need to double check and triple check your work because when you get trolled by Tim Pool, you know you're failing. Okay, you failed miserably. You stupid morons. So to all these people out here that get triggered by a celebrity or online celebrity or athlete or some high profile person because they're going to make an endorsement, that's not the end all be all of everything. Get thicker skin. If you're so confident in your candidate, then go ahead and go to bat for your candidate, be they Democrat, Republican, third party, or independent. But if you're going to get easily triggered and join the mob of saying, how dare you, you hurt my feelings or destroyed my collective reality because somehow you're supporting somebody that I don't want to support and you should be supporting my guy, I'm going to say this to anybody. If you are in that mindset where you're easily triggered on social media, you shouldn't be on the internet. And I'm going to give you my favorite Logan Roy quote. His final words to his kids. I love you, but you are not serious people. If you are in that mindset of being triggered that easily on social media, then you're a snowflake. I don't care where you stand politically. You're a snowflake if you're that easily triggered and the internet is just not for you.